Welcome to the Wargaming Garage and this Tempest of War game between Death Guard and Sisters of Battle. Today's battle takes place on St. Orpheus, a planet in the Finial Sector near the Eye of Terror. This beleaguered planet has been the site of many an attempted demonic incursion, chaos attack, and so far it has held firm. Elsewhere on this planet, there's recently been a 1,000 Sons and Death Guard have tried to summon a greater demon, only to be foiled by the Dark Angels, which is another story entirely. But in this sector, the Death Guard are being met by the Sisters of Battle, who've answered the call from the Vox coming from the planet, and made their way over, diverted all forces that they could spare, and the Order of the Burning Shield, the Black Watch, have come to see if they can halt the Death Guard in their tracks. For a change, playing the full 6x4 layout today, and it is a slightly different layout. It's not although it is Tempest of War and it is matched play. I kind of feel like the Tempest cards almost, the narrative writes itself. You draw the cards, you see what you get, and so I like to play the Tempest stuff on what I would class as a more narratively led layout. So we'll go over some of the bits shortly, but this is not an atypical layout that we'd normally go for if you're going to play match play. But so here's some of the table. It's like I say, 6x4. This is a frontline gaming mat. There's then essentially nearly all Games Workshop terrain. There's a few odd bits that have come from Game Mat around some of the accessories, and again some of the barricades that have just come from Lord knows where. But so that's the table in a nutshell. We'll have a look at the Tempest of War stuff shortly. So we drew the Tempest of War cards, and basically we got Vital Ground, which is second, third and fourth battle rounds control the objective marker in their own deployment zone for 3 points, no man's land objective markers for 4 points, and objective markers in the opponent's zone for 5 victory points. And then in every battle round, for every enemy unit destroyed to a maximum of 3 points, you get a point for each unit destroyed. This was the deployment. We haven't set anything up or decided who's going where yet, but that is the deployment, the quartered deployment. And then supply lines is our mission rules. So we only receive a CP if we command the objective marker in our own deployment zone. So we know the mission, we know the layout. Let's go and have a look at the armies. So starting with the Death Guard, here is 1998 points of Death Guard. So if we start with the Lord of Contagion, that's Captain Trips. He comes with the Man Reaper, and he has the relic of the suppurating plate. He's got a pathogen, which is the unstable sickness, so every time an enemy model is destroyed on a 4-up, that model's unit also suffers an additional mortal wound to a maximum of 3. He's also got the Warlord trait Arch Contaminator, so all pretty standard stuff. It's all too good to do anything different, really. So he's the warlord today, and he's backed up as usual by the Malignant Plaguecaster. Again, he has the additional relic, the Putrid Periapt, because again, too good not to take, really, and gives him the additional psychic power, of which he's got Curse of the Leper, Miasma of Pestilence, and Putrescent Vitality. Again, pretty standard stuff. Moving on to the elites, we've got the Foul Blightspawn. Again, don't leave home without one. There, he's really good. He's always got the Revolting Stench relic, and he's also got the Viscous Death pathogen, which means he can re-roll the number of attacks with his spewer. And then we've got the Plague Surgeon. He's been given hulking physique, so he can't be wounded on a 1, 2 or 3 irrespective. But I ran out of relics, so I couldn't give him the sort of +3, the Fugris's Helm, I think it's called, to give him the +3 to his aura. In carrying on with the elites, there are a squad of Death Shroud. The champion has the Reaper of Glorious Entropy, which is what he carries. That's what I normally give him. And then we've also got a squad of Blightlord Terminators. Pretty standard. The way I try and run them, so I know who's who, is the champion has the axe and everyone else has a sword. I think the champion on this one's got the Plague Skull, so he has that once per battle grenade, basically. In standard troop choices, we've got 2 squads of Plague Marines. Both champions have got a Power Fist, one has a Plasma Pistol. Then we've also got 6 Plague Marines backing them up. And one squad have a Flail, the other squad has a Plague Cleaver. And then everything else is just bolters and blight launchers. And we also have a squad of 14 box walkers, which could come in handy just for that keeping the objective at the rear of the deployment zone. Fast attack wise, we've got 2 blight drones, and we've also got 2 blight haulers. Again, pretty standard stuff. They're multi-melters and missile launchers, and the blight drones are modelled with and have got the plague spewers. In heavy support, again, we've got the Plague Burst Crawler, modelled with the plague spewers because that's what it came with. And then in dedicated transport, I have the Rhino. So I think there's a fair amount of options. It's a bit of a mixed list. I haven't used the blight haulers for quite some time, so we'll see how we get on with those in replacement of a Plague Burst Crawler, which is what I normally would run, and then I'd normally then have an additional squad of Plague Marines. So let's see how this list pans out. It may have enough zip to get around and manoeuvre around the board, and then hold on to some stuff with some, you've got 9 wounds with 5 up in run, etc, with those guys. So they get to an objective, they're going to be, unless they get OBSEC on there, they're going to be relatively tough to shift. With the new data slate coming out, pretty much everything has got the Armour of Contempt, and we've obviously got now OBSEC for the Death Shroud and the Blight Lord. So let's see how that affects things with some of this Tempest play. But all that being said, let's have a look at the Sisters. And onto the Sisters. Here is 1997 points of Sisters of Battle. It is split into 2 detachments. We've got a battalion and a spearhead. I'll go through the battalion first. So again, as usual, it's led by the Canoness, and the Canoness has quite a few things with her. She's got the Warlord trait Righteous Rage, so she re-rolls the hit rolls and wound rolls in melee, and she has the Quicksilver Veil as the relic, so it adds 3 to her movement characteristic and also subtracts 1 from attack rolls against her. She's got the Blessing Rapturous Blows, so she can add 1 to the strength and damage characteristics of all melee weapons, and this also grants her once per battle core units within miracle range on an unmodified wound of 6 attack an additional inflict an additional mortal wound. Backing her up is the Palatine. She's also a saint in the making, so she's got Fury of the Righteous and Indomitable Belief, so units within 6 get a +1 to their Shield of Faith, so everyone within 6 is got essentially a 5-up invuln. I've also given her Blessing the Emperor's Grace, so at the start of the command phase she can regain D3 mortal wounds, and then once per battle, friendly units within miracle range, the opponent cannot re-roll hits or wounds or damage, so can be at the right time quite powerful to turn that on. Onto elites, the Image of Fire has got the tail of the warrior, so she adds 1 to the strength of units within 6, and she's also running the Book of St. Lucius to add 3, so she's anyone within 9 will be able to get the benefit of the +1 to strength. We are also running a Preacher, so that Preacher has got the war hymn to give, if it goes off, gives core additional attack, and then a squad of 9 Repentia with Repentia Superior, just as they are, nothing in particular on those. And then into heavy support, we've got 2 squads of Retributors, 1 squad with Melters and Flamers, another squad with Melters, Flamer and Heavy Bolter. Then we've also got 2 Exorcists in heavy support. We've then got in for troops choices, we've got 3 squads of 5 Sisters of Battle, just bog standard, nothing else on them apart from the bolters as usual. And then back to the elites, we have the Sacrosancts, a squad of 6 because of points. We've then got 2 Immolators, and then in the Spearhead detachment we've got a Canoness, pretty standard Canoness with Power Sword and Condemned Bolt Gun, and she is running the Penitent Engines and keeping them in check. In addition to that, we've also got an Agent of the Imperium. Again, it's the first time I'm running the Agent of the Imperium, so we'll see how that pans out. But the Slexus Assassin, which has a couple of things that might come in useful, as in the -2 to the psychic rolls. So we'll see how that comes out and see what he can do for us in this game. The last part is a dedicated transport for the Sisters to roll round in, and that is pretty much that for the Sisters. So they're the lists. Again, we're running this as Argent Shroud, so we're running the Sisters Argent Shroud, so they should be able to zip around with no penalty, which might be handy for getting onto those objectives and then running a couple of stratagems to hold them there. The other thing that this army get, their army trait is the Passion, so in melee 6s to hit do an additional hit, so may come in useful when you've got the big or semi-big blob of Sacrosancts there, and certainly for the Repentia, because if we can get the Preacher to get the Litany off, So +1 attack, suddenly got 27 attacks, with 6s exploding, re-rolling, etc, etc. So it's a whole world of hurt. But at the same time, that kind of number of attacks is something that I think you're going to need to try and put into the Plague Marines or whatever we're trying to wound, because obviously the damage reduction takes that damage 2 weapon down to damage 1. So you've already got, over in the Plague Marine squad, you've already got 14 wounds to get through. So I think it's something that is most definitely something that we need. So all that being said, we'll move on to deployment. So as is usually the case, I will run these smaller dice as the Death Guard and these dice as the Sisters. So we'll roll off for choosing deployment, and the Death Guard get to choose. Let's have a look and see what the Death Guard player is going to look for in the table. So after the deployment, it was a bit of a funny one, again because of the board, but I'll stand by sort of the narrative decision on that one. So the Death Guard have kind of castled up over towards this front edge on the long table edge, because within relatively short distance, if they do get first turn, they've got 1 and they've got 2 objectives that they could easily move out onto. So right in those ruins, you've got a squad of Plague Marines, you've got the Blight Haulers, a squad of Marines inside the Rhino, you've got the Terminators, you've got the main bulk of the Death Guard force making their way out towards the Sisters lines and the objectives. The Sisters have deployed a bit more cautiously. Again, a bulk over towards this to take them over towards that short edge, but again a couple more in cover and out of line of sight around the table, so in order to give themselves some longevity. In terms of the table, that's a ruin there that is line of sight blocking, as obscuring. That is also obscuring over there. This is obscuring and that's obscuring. This is what it is. It is line of sight blocking, but then over the crane and things like that, all this will be dense. You've got craters which will affect movement. Another crater will affect movement. A crater in the corner there that'll affect movement. Again, line of sight blocking with the containers, barricades, etc. So there's enough variety of terrain that I think when you're actually down at model level, there's it's evident that you just can't see some stuff, even with moving and whatnot. So hopefully that's enough to mitigate against it, but we'll see. Again, I went for the thematic layout on the table, so let's see what that does to the game. So all that's left really is to roll off for first turn. I have to say on this one, I'm not entirely sure which player is going to want to get first turn, so I can't yet decide. But let's see what the dice say, shall we? And it's Death Guard, turn 1. So, start of the command phase for the Death Guard, all we need to do is draw our cards for this one. So, a tempting target, overwhelming firepower, keeping a tally of units destroyed, and extend battle lines. So from the point of view of a tempting target, it doesn't really matter, I don't think, which of these objectives. There are ways and means for the Death Guard player to advance onto these objectives, because it just has to be at the end of their turn that they're controlling them. So there's this one, and the far one that are going to be all well within to net those 5 points. So I think we'll nominate this one in the far corner here anyway, as it just slightly pull this unit away and either force the Death Guard player to use CP to extend their firepower. So after the movement phase, we've brought the bloat drone out to cover the tempting target and net the 5 points. The Plague Burst Crawlers come round with the Pox Walkers staying still, and pretty much everything infantry wise has advanced here into the mid board to start to try and hold this mid objective and start making, with a lot of Terminators in cover, they're going to be hard to shift. So that is the plan, with hold that mid board and just be a complete pain to get rid of. Around this side, the bloat drone advanced and the Blight Haulers came round to get line of sight on this Rhino, and this Rhino, the Chaos Rhino, advanced. So there won't be much shooting in the shooting phase, but before that we'll just move on to the psychic phase. So we're going to cast sort of some buffing powers in this one onto this squad of Marines in the centre here. So we're going to cast Miasma of Pestilence to make them -1 to hit, which doesn't go off. Not too fussed because they are... no, not too fussed really. There's still going to be 5s to wound anyway. But with chest vitality on them as well, so they are got that extra strength, extra toughness. So they are going to be a little bit harder for anything that's got more strength in its attack. So that being said, we'll move on to the shooting phase. So we do need to keep a tally of units. So for overwhelming firepower, but due to what's been placed where by the sisters, the eligibility of them, the only ones we've got really are the Penitent Engines in the centre here and the Rhino over here as well. So we're going to put everything from this flank, the 2 Blight Haulers and the bloat drone, into the Rhino. We're going to put the Plague Burst Crawler mortar into the Rhino and the Heavy Slugger into the Penitent Engines in the centre there. So we'll start with some Tracer Fire from the Plague Burst Crawler's Heavy Slugger with 2 hits and no wounds. And then a number of mortar shots for 1. Okay. Which hits, which wounds, and doesn't save. So there's 2 damage done on the Rhino already. So we'll move on to the bloat drone for the automatic hits for 8. So 8 dice, looking for 5s to wound, re-rolling any 1s. Okay, so 4 wounds and 3 go through. So as those Blight Haulers are actually 1 unit, both multi-melters will go into the Rhino. So all hit, all wound. So 4 6 up Shield of Faiths. 3 go through. So 5 dice. 3 dice to get 5 wounds. Yeah. Does it blow up? No. And so all that's left is to work out if anybody perished on the way out. Okay, so there's 9 Repentia in there and 1 Sister Superior, so let's see if we lose any. No, we lose 2, not 2. So that really draws the Death Guard turn to a close. That was short but sweet, but we have managed to net 10 points. We've opened our tally with overwhelming firepower, but we've got the tempting target, and we have extended our battle lines here, and here. So we're starting to get an early control of the board. So that makes the Death Guard get some 10 points at the end of turn 1. So we'll move over to the Sisters side and see what they can do to counter. So here we are in the initial part to do the orders. So again, extend battle lines and see what we can do with that one. Area denial, that's going to be tough. And no prisoners. So an active tally, getting a strike force up to 30. So this can't be achieved during the first battle round, so I need to shuffle this back into my deck and then redraw. So I've had a little shuffle and defend stronghold. Okay, this also cannot be achieved during the first battle round. Okay, I'll shuffle it back in a minute. Overwhelming firepower. Okay, right. So there are 3. External battle lines, that'll be a problem. I think this and this are obviously going to be something to work towards under turns, maybe turn 2. I don't want to spend any CP. I'm on 9 CP at the moment with the battle round starting, my turn starting. So I don't really want to spend it on losing one of these. If I was going to do that, I think I'll burn overwhelming firepower. I will do it behind enemy lines. Okay, let's see what I can do. So here we are at the end of the Sisters movement phase. I did roll for the miracle dice off camera and got a 3. So that's in my current pool. So there's been a fair bit of shuffling around, and there's a bit of risk involved with some of these later phases of the turn. But basically, the Penitent engine that's on its own came out towards the bloatdrome to try and put pressure on those lines and take either contest the objective at least, or if we can even take it off of him, that would be fantastic. Again, these Penitent engines are trying to swing around and get into the Death Guard lines if they can on the charge. The Canoness with that detachment's moved up as the assassin. We've advanced this squad of Sisters here to move into the cover. This squad have stayed where they are. The Exorcists have moved around so they can start getting line of sight on some targets as they come into view, although at the moment it is quite limited as to what we can do. This squad of Sisters has advanced through to hold the objective, and we've spent 2 CP on Defenders of the Faith, so essentially giving them transhuman until the next command phase. the squad with Retributors in has moved on to try and do some movement blocking with this kind of area of the board. And then the Repentia have moved up to take on and see if they can clear some of this mid-board. The Priest did get his him off, so the unit, which is this one within 6, will get an extra attack. So that's really the movement done. So we're going to have a look at what kind of target priorities they are, and then we'll move on to the shooting phase. So we're near the end of the shooting phase at the moment. We've fired some bolter shots into the bloke drone, just plinked a couple of wounds off of it. We also fired some bolter shots and flamers from the penitent engine into that, managed to knock 3 wounds off it. Likewise, penitent engine into these Death Shroud and managed to knock 1 wound off just through volume of shots. So looking at the target priorities is a bit difficult because what I'd like to do is try and charge that bloke drone. So I want to try and minimise the amount of shots that are on it. Likewise, this will allow me to extend my battle lines, which is fine, but I need to start looking at volume of wounds, because I need to look at the no prisoner side of things. So I've still got a fair amount of wounds to keep to go through. So we're going to take the multi-motor shots from this immolator into the bloke drone, and then I think I'm going to split fire with these 2 exorcists down here. I think what I'm going to do is I am going to fire 1 into the bloke drone that's in the other crater, and then I'm going to fire this other one and spend a couple of CP to fire indirectly over at the Blight Hall a bit. I'll give it some thought, because this one can thread the needle through to the Death Shroud as well, so I'm going to give it some thought as to where I put that. But for now, let's do the heavy bolters from the immolator into the bloke drone. So hitting on 3s, of course, wounding on 5s, there's a wound, but saves. And now the multi-mounters, of course. We had to re-roll 1 for Argent Shroud, which I'll do, of course. 3s to wound. Oh my god. Demon save, which goes through. At this range it's D6 plus 2. So it is 7 reduced to 6. So that bloke drone does have 2 wounds remaining. Let's take 1 shot into the bloke drone, and I don't think this can see anyway. No, so we'll spend 2 CP on Devastating Refrain so we can fire out of line of sight. So this first one into the bloke drone, it can see. So 3d3 shots. Okay, no reroll 1s because it's not core anymore. Not cool. And 3s to wound. I'll reroll one of those. Okay, makes no difference. So 2 5-up demon saves, which it fails both. So 2d6 damage for 6, reduced to 4. So it's got 2 wounds remaining. So that's going to help. That's cool. So I'll spend 2 CP on Devastating Refrain to fire into one of the bloke. Yeah, into the Blight Haulers. They're the biggest threat at the minute. Okay, I'm going to spend an Argent Shroud reroll. Okay, wounding on 3s. Wounds, 5-up demon save. doesn't make, and d6 damage. For 6, reduced down to 5, so that leaves that with 4 wounds remaining. That's good, that's not a bad start. So the charges I'm going to make are going to be these Repentia into this squad of Plague Marines that are holding the centre of the board here, or more or less the centre. I'm also going to charge this Penitent Engine into this Bloat Drone, and these Penitent Engines into the Death Shroud around there. So that's the plan. We'll roll for the Repentia. Just there in with a 5, obviously, they're going to be anyway, but just give me the movement. Both the Penitent Engines are a 7, so the lone one into the Bloat Drone, which doesn't go off. How bad do I want that to happen? Yeah, quite badly. That goes off, so he's in. And the other Penitent Engines into the Death Shroud. And they're in on an 8. Okay, so I'll move them all in. We'll go through to the fight phase. So we managed to move everybody in, and after the pile in, we've managed to get them all together. It's a little bit congested down there, but there's some inside the building as well. Plague Marines inside the building, and so the sisters are also charged through the wall. So with the extra attack, that gives them 21 attacks on the charge. The extra attack coming from the priest. The zealots, so they get to re-roll, and the 6s explode because of the passion. So let's see what we get. Fair old chunk to re-roll. So 3 6s so far. Another couple, so 5 additional attacks. And just take out the misses. So 4, those 4 can go back in, plus another 1. So 22 hits out of 21 attacks, so not bad. So there'd be strength 6, but so wounding on 3s, but because the superior is nearby, they get 1 to the wound roll, so it's wounding on 2s. That's not bad. So that's 20 wounds that have gone through, but there's 2 that are in cover. So we'll start off with those Marines basically in cover. Now armour of contempt is obviously a thing. So it's -3 becomes -1. In cover +1 to the save, so it's 4 up save. So the first one fails. Is okay. Is okay. Second one fails. So that's one of them down in cover. Okay. Fails. Fails. So now the rest can be done. So that's 2 dead. So then the rest will just be 5 ups because of the -1 to armour of contempt. So that's another one dead. 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 And 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That would be the squad. So not bad work by the Repentia at all. So now the 5 attacks with the Penitent Engine into the Bloat Drone. Doing on 4s. 6s do explode, so that's got 3 in. It would be... hang on. So 3s to wound. All 3 go through onto the demon save. He makes 2 of them. So 2 damage reduced down to 1 damage. So the drone is alive on 1 wound. Okay. So quickly on to the other penitent engines. I'm not going to pay to interrupt because I don't think it's going to be worth the CP on those Death Shroud, but I'm happy to be proved wrong by anybody else. So force to wound, force to hit, sorry. Okay, so strength 8, toughness 5, so 3's to wound. 4 wounds onto the, well, basically either which way is 4 up in run. Because it's -4, it becomes -3 because they're in cover, and -2 for Honor of Contempt, so 2 up becomes a 4 up, so either which way, 4 up in run. Oh, 1 was on 1 wound. So the 2 damage becomes 1 damage, so it would kill the 1 on 1 wound and put 1 on another. I will spend a CP because they're pretty valuable. Still makes no odds. Okay, so kills 1 and puts 1 down to 2 wounds. Okay. So fighting back with the champion, Death Shroud champion, he's got the Reaper of Glorious Entropy. He's hitting on 2s and re-rolling 1s because his Lord of Contagion is in proximity for him. It's a good job 2. Okay. He is now strength 8, so wounding on 3s, re-rolling 1s. But they're toughness 4 now because of contagion, so actually wounding on 2s, re-rolling 1s. All go through. So because it's -3, it's got a 5 up, 4 up save, so it's gone straight through. They are 3 damage each, so it's got a whole bunch of feel no pains to do. So 3, 6, 9. That's the first one dead. And then the second 4 attacks, again hitting on 2s, re-rolling the 1s. Okay, and again 2s to wound, re-rolling the 1s. So all go through, and these are -2, so it does go through 2 damage each. So that is 6. 1 is alive. I think it's got 5 wounds. Hang on. Yeah, so 1's alive on 1 wound remaining. So not a bad turn for the sisters. Had to really go aggressive because now we're controlling that objective. We've moved the Death Guard off of that objective. There's nothing in within 3 inches of that. And we're contesting this objective. So it will only limit them to 5 points on the primary, as we've managed to sort of claw some stuff back. But in terms of our own secondaries, we only scored the 5 points for extend battle lines because we've taken this and we've taken that and we're contesting this. So looking at the secondaries, up to 17 so far and take no prisoners. They've managed to extend the battle lines, but we'll burn this at the end of our turn because there's no way we're going to get that. So 5 points to 10 so far as we head into Death Guard, turn 2. So at the start of the command phase for turn 2 of the Death Guard's turn, we need to just draw 2 new cards. We're 1 unit into overwhelming firepower. So we draw Defend Stronghold, and we draw Deploy Teleport Homers. I think Deploy Teleport Homers is going to be a difficult one to get at this point in time, so I will spend a CP to burn that one, and I get Area Denial. Again, going to be difficult given the 12-inch denial area. So, but that being said, we'll move on to the rest of the command phase and go from there. So during the command phase, there wasn't too much to do. We gained 5 points from the Death Guard point of view, putting us on to 15 so far. And then we carried out the movement phase. We brought the Plague Burst Call around to give a bit more line of sight and get it in range of those exorcists at the other end of the table. Poxwalkers stood still because I need them to give me the CP. The Death Shroud stayed in combat. They've got 1 wound to get through there, and then what we can start to do is either the Death Shroud and the captain can start to go off and go hunting, or and then the Blight Lords have come through into the second part of this ruin here. The other bloat drone advanced forward to try and start getting line of sight on the sacrosancts at the start in the entrance to that building. Blight haulers move round, and then we disembarked all of the squads that are in this Rhino to start contesting this objective over here. See if we can start clearing that way and start making some advancements into no man's land. So that all being said, that's movement done. We stayed in combat, like I say, with the Death Shroud, and we stayed in combat with the bloat drone. Either which way, it's got 1 wound left. I can fall it back and have it become a target for shooting next turn to get rid of it, but it can't do anything, or it can do nothing there and tie that up. Either way, it's a bit of a lose-lose situation with that one, so that's why I left it in combat there. So that all being said, let's move on to the psychic phase. Okay, so interestingly for this psychic phase, the Selectus is well within range. You should see the side of the containers, so it's going to be -2 to any of the psychic powers that he has to cast. So we're going to go for Miasma of Pestilence onto the captain, onto the Lord of Contagion, Captain Trips. So if he does get into combat, which he certainly should do, he is going to be -1 to hit if any of the Repentia survive. So he'll do that, and then he's going to cast Putrescent Vitality onto see if he smites. You see, he's going to knock some of those Repentia out. Yeah, so we'll cast a smite as well. Okay, so smite's now casting on, it's -2 to the cast, so it's casting on a 7, which goes off for D3, which kills 2 of the Repentia, and then Miasma of Pestilence, okay, that does go off as well. So in that instance, that assassin has made absolutely no difference. Okay. Okay, so you join us halfway through the shooting phase. We've had this squad fire at the sisters and managed to kill one using the blight launcher. We've also fired the bloat drone into the sacrosancts and managed to kill one of those. We've took a couple of wounds off of the penitent engine by firing into combat with the flamers or the plague spewers. That's about it so far. So there's not too much shooting to go on at the moment, but basically this, because it's 1 unit, these 2 blight haulers, we're going to put all the melters into the immolator, and we're going to put the crack missiles into the preacher, because he has actually closer, so he can be targeted by the unit. So that being said, we're also then going to do the Foul Blight spawn into those sisters. They are wounding on 4s because they are still transhumaned. So we'll start with the Foul Blight spawn for 2. Now it has a relic, so I can re-roll that. For 4, that's 100% better. So still wounding on 4s. That's not bad. 3 got through. So Armour of Contempt and being in cover should give me a 3-up save. So 1 dies. So not a bad trade-off so far. So I'll just mark that up for 1. So if we then do the multi-melters into the retribute, into the immolator, 2 hit, 3s to wound, 1 wound, and 1 6-up Shield of Faith. No, definitely goes through, so it's D6 plus 2 at this range. For 8. Okay, so I'll just mark that up for the immolator, so as I know. I'll just put that over there for now. And the 2 crack mass missiles into the breacher. Both miss. Okay, it's not too important. So the last thing left to shoot really is going to be the Plague Burst Crawler. I'm just it's going to go into this Exorcist on the right here. So the number of shots is 4. We'll keep that. Hitting on 3s. Oh dear. Okay. Winning on 3s, we're rolling 1s. Okay, both go through. So -2 becomes -1, so 4 ups. Okay, so it takes 4 wounds. So nothing else to shoot. Looking across the board, so I'm not going to fire the Terminators because I want, although everyone with firepower, that would be a thing, wouldn't it? That would be a thing. Yeah, okay, I might just see if I can get that tally up with the Terminators into the Repentia. Let me have a think. So the Terminator did fire in, and it cleared the Repentia. So that gives another tally for their own firepower. Just need to roll the miracle dice for removing the Repentia because they've martyrdom, which gets me a 5. That'll do. So now I've got a 2, 3, double 4s and a 5. So I'll remove the Repentia, and then we basically move on to the charge phase. So looking at the eligible units to charge, it's only going to be Captain Trips, I think, charging into this Sister Superior, this Repentia Superior, and then the squad of Plague Marines into this squad of Battle Sisters. And that's a 3-inch charge and 4-inch charge respectively. So I'll roll for those off camera and come back for the fight phase. So the Plague Marines made it in with an 8, but the Sisters, the 3 that are left, have set to defend. So we'll start off with the Marines with the standard Plague Knives. So 2 attacks each, hitting on 3s. And that's pretty good there. They're still under transhumans, so they're still forced to wound. Rerolling the 1s because plague weapons. That's pretty good. That's right, with contempt, the -1 is negated, so but it's not in heavy cover or anything, obviously, so it's just the 3-up save. And that on its own removes the squad. And so the Lord of Contagion goes into the Repentia Superior. So hitting on 2s, they all hit. Wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s. Okay, so that's 4 wounds. So -3 becomes -2. She has 4 wounds, so that's 4 5-ups. Of which she makes 2, so she's still alive on 2 wounds, which is very surprising. So we did the fight back with the Sister Superior, and she managed to inflict 1 wound onto the Lord of Contagion. So now the last bit to resolve will be over here with the Penitent Engine. So 5 attacks hitting on 4s. So he gets 5 attacks because of the buzz blades, wounding on 4s, hitting on 4s, sorry. All bar 1. Wounding on 3s. All 4 go through. So that's 4 5-up demon saves. Each one of these fails and it's dead. And it is dead 3 times over. So, does it explode? Yes, it does. Excellent. So at the end of the turn for the Death Guard, although they've lost this objective, they've managed to at least contest this one with the Lord of Contagion against the Assassin, and they've certainly taken this one over. So they've started to make inroads into the Sisters' territory. So end of the turn with a scored defend stronghold. We've still got everyone with firepower, which I think we'll save for the next turn, but we will burn area denial. So that is another 5 points onto the stack, taking the Death Guard to 20 so far. So with all that being said, we'll move on to the Sisters' turn 2. Remember to go back and do the fight with the Penitent Engine and the 2 Death Shroud, of which Penitent Engine obviously came off worse. It did manage to inflict 2 wounds on one of the Death Shroud, but after that it got well beaten up. So on to the cards for the Sisters. So there's 2 to draw out. So grind them down. Each time the unit's destroyed. So end of next turn, maybe getting 5, and secure no man's land. If you have 1 unit, 2 or more objective markers in no man's land. I've already got one that's going to take me to the next, possibly end of this turn to get. I'd like to try and start getting some of these primary points, secondary points, adding up, because I think I'm going to need them for later turns. So, okay, I'm not sure. I'll keep that because I think I'm going to get that this turn, and I think I can get that this turn, because on the primary, we hold this one. That one's contested, and we've lost that one. But we've obviously hold this one at the back here. So we'll get 5, and we'll get 10, but we won't get hold more. So need to start racking up some of those points, I think. So we'll go on to the movement phase and see what the Sisters can do. So at the end of the Sisters movement phase, we gained 10 points in the command phase for holding 2 objectives. So we are getting ourselves within grasp of the Death Guard at the moment. But there's a couple of things here to start to. We need for the secondaries to come off in order for us to start shutting a fair old amount of what they've got that threaten us down. So movement wise, the Retributors disembarked from this immolator and advanced into the ruins. And then the immolator brought itself round, avoiding the crater. The Palatine brought herself in reach of both sets of units here. The Sacrosancts also came through along with the Canoness and the Imagifier. The Canoness also spent 2 miracle dice to expand her range, so now up until the next command phase, then 6s to wound in combat also do mortal wounds in addition, because I want to try and get rid of this OBSEC unit here if we can. So that being said, around there, the other Retributor squad disembarked from the immolator, and then the immolator pulled back a little bit because now it's on its it's been bracketed, so we need to have a look at that in terms of how it's going to shoot. This squad of sisters stayed still. This exorcist advanced over the crater to get itself a bit of line of sight with some of its other weapons, and so did this exorcist just shuffled a little bit to bring line of sight with its heavy bolters into the blight haulers. Over here, towards the far end of the battle grid, this squad of sisters advanced to try and get themselves OBSEC onto this objective, and then this penitent engine brought itself forward to hopefully, obviously it's a near unfailable charge, but to get into combat and try and shut down the Plague Burst Crawler for a bit, maybe if we're lucky. So that all being said, we'll move on to, there's a few target priorities. Ultimately we need to secure no man's land. So at the moment, if we do nothing else by the end of this turn, we have that one. We've moved this Canoness. We've got the Assassin up here. So currently, the only one from the Death Guard who's within range of the objective is Captain Trips. So currently we are outnumbering him. So we do hold the middle. We do hold this side. And that side's a tar pit right now. So we need to maintain, if we do nothing else, we just maintain those, and this one will secure ourselves the 5 points. But obviously what we want to try and do is remove the OBSEC from that objective and start pushing this lot back, because ultimately in the next turn we've got a whole blob of hurt coming through these ruins. If we can do that and get rid of some of these high wound units, we can then secure no prisoners as well. So that being said, we'll move on to the shooting phase. So we're partway through the shooting phase. We've done everything up at the Plague Burst Crawler with the Penitent Engine and that squad of sisters, nothing doing. We have fired this immolator so far into the squad of Plague Marines and managed to get rid of 3, so not bad shooting. But the Hunter Killer went into the Blight Hauler, did one wound. So we're going to come around to this immolator, and what we're going to do is probably take a pot shot and go into the Death Shroud at the back there, just sneaking at the back. So see if we can do that, and then Hunter Killer and Bolters into the Blight Hauler, just again see if we can take anything off of that. So multi melters into the Death Shroud, hitting on 4s because of it's bracketed. So 1 hit. I will spend the reroll now. That's 2 hits. 3s to wound, both wound, 2 4-up in buns. 2 4-up in buns. Pass 1, fail 1. So, does the Death Guard want to spend a CP? Yeah, I'm going to be really annoying. It's fine. Yeah, spend the CP, saves him. So 3 heavy bolters into the Blight Hauler, 1 hit, no wound, and then the Hunter Killer Missile hits, wounds, -2 back to -1. It goes through. I'm going to spend, he's got 3 wounds left, so I need to roll a 4 or more. Okay, let's go for it. Yes. Okay, does that one blow up? No. Okay, so that was 1 removed out of that unit. Not bad. I'll have a think what to shoot next. Check that on a 4-up, it does. So took a mortal wound, removed the flamer from this Retributor squad, and got this immolator down to its lowest bracket. So bit of vengeance on death there. So right, on to some more shooting. So we'll fire this Exorcist. It's going to go the missile launcher into the Plague Burst Crawler, the heavy bolters and the Hunter Killer Missile into the Bloat Drone. So we'll start with the heavy bolters and the Hunter Killer into the Bloat Drone. So hitting on 3s, all hit, wounding on 5s for the bolter, and 1 wound, -1, but then back down to normal because I'm one of contempt. He's fine. Hunter Killer Missile hits, Hunter Killer Missile, wounds, 4-up, and he makes it. Very good. Okay, so 3d3 into the Plague Burst Crawler for 5, hitting on 3s. Right. I think now's the time to use its Argent Shroud. Yeah. Wounding on 4s. Excellent. So 2 5-up invuns. Let me just check. Yeah, would have been, but Armour of Contempt brings it back down to 4. Oh, okay. Well, I've used a CP already. So 2d6. Yeah. Reduced to 1, reduced to 1. So 2 damage. Excellent. Well, whilst we're here, we'll rinse and repeat with this one then. So we'll do the same thing. Missile launcher into the Plague Burst Crawler, heavy bolter and Hunter Killer into the Bloat Drone. So start off with the heavy bolters again, 3d3, 3 shots, 2 hits, 5s to wound, 1 wound. Fine. I saved him well, rolled him well. Hunter Killer, hits, Hunter Killer, wounds, saves. Blimey. Okay, 3d3 into the Plague Burst Crawler. Okay, so 3, 5, 6. Let's see if you can show them how it's done. 3s to hit. No, evidently you can't. it's Argent Shroud, yep. So, force to wound, 2 wounds, 2 4-ups, 1 goes through, d6 damage. Okay, for 5, so 7 taken so far on the Plague Burst Crawler, which helps matters. Okay, I never think where I'm putting the Retributors. I'll come back to you. Okay, so we'll start with this Retributor squad, because if the outcome is what I'm hoping for, then it will leave this Retributor squad to try and focus on this Blightspawn, because I'd like to try and get rid of him because of the whole fight last thing going on. He's currently out of range, which is good. So we'll start off with the superior in the squad, 2 heavy rapid fire bolters, 2 hits, no wounds. Okay, the flamer for 9. So 9 auto hits, needing 5s to wound. Not too bad. 5 go through. So 5 was -1, back down to 3s because of Armour of Contempt. And a whopping 1 wound taken. So onto the multi-melters, 3s to hit. And I will save it. 3s to wound. I'll use the Argent Shroud. Yep. So 3 on the 5-up demon save. Ooh. Again, I've used the CP this turn for the Death Guard. So 3d6 plus 2 each one. Becomes 5. Becomes 3. So that's 5, 7, 8. Plus the wounded taken. That gets him. Does he blow up? Let's hope not. No. Okay. So, spending a cherub. Off she goes. To fire at who's freed up the Blightspawn now. So, we'll start chipping away at that. Again, 2 hits. Strength 8, toughness 5, so 3s to wound. I've already done my Argent Shroud. Failed to wound. So d6 plus 2. So let's see if we can get rid of the Blightspawn. So 4 wounds go through. I think is a 4 wound model. So for killing a unit this phase, get Miracle Dice, which is a 4. Okay, a nice big pool of 4s and 1-1. Okay. So that now frees up this squad of Retributors. I think what they might do is put everything into... I'm not so fussed about this Rhino, but I am quite fussed around that bloat drone, just because it may cause me problems over here. May. So I'll have a think about that and see whether I want to go into the bloat drone or whether I just want to kill stuff and kill the Rhino. Have a think. So just to have a little bit of a thing, I'm going to put everything into the Rhino because it doesn't get disgustingly resilient, so there's no damage reduction at all. So whatever I can do against it will just stay against it, rather than with the bloat drone I've got to sort of, there's an additional amount of wounds that I've got to go through, plus it has a 5-up demon save and all that kind of stuff. So I think when I'm looking at grind them down, I'm already on 2 units as it is because the blight haulers were one unit, the blight spawns another unit. So if I can get up to a third, it starts giving the Death Guard something to think about when they've got to look to see if their attrition tally to get up. With only 5 wounds left on the Plague Burst Crawler, it's a stretch that the Penitent Engine could do it, but you know, maybe it's the little engine that could. So we'll put everything into the Rhino. So we'll start with the heavy bolters, hitting on 3s, wounding on 5s, nothing. We'll do, there's a heavy flamer in that squad for 5. So again, 5s to wound. So 2 wounds go through. Armor of Contempt, it is fine. And then there are 2 multi-melters in that squad. All 4 hit. 3s to wound. Rerolling 1s because of the Palatine, just remembered that. And I'll get my Argent Shroud. So all 4 go through. So that is 4 6s required. And it gets no 6s. Let me just check the distance. Yeah, they're in melter range, so that's already 8 wounds. So we'll roll anyway. So that would have been 6, 12, 18, 22 wounds. I think it's dead. Does it blow up? Not that it makes much difference, but it does. Yay! But there's nothing near it, so boo. So that's everything that I want to fire, can fire. So that being said, that was a really strong shooting phase. We'll move on to the charge phase. Only a few charges here. So the Palatine, the Sacrosancts, and the Canoness are going to charge into the Plague Marines. Again, trying to overkill it if we can, because I want that objective back. And then the only other one is going to be the Penitent Engine into the Plague Burst Crawler. I'll have a think around the Preacher, though I don't think it's going to do much good. I think it's just sacrificing the model for the sake of it, so I'll probably leave him. So we'll start with the Canoness into the Plague Marines. She gets 4 attacks, hitting on 2s, re-rolling because of her Warlord trait, and 6s explode. It's a good job she's re-rolling, as you do. No 6s, excellent. 3s to wound, and again re-rolling. Blimey. Okay. And a 6 does no. So I don't think it's for characters. I think it's just core. So 3 wounds go through. They're -3 damage, but becomes -2 because of Armor of Contempt, and becomes 2 damage. So each failed is a dead Marine. And that's 3 dead Marines. I will use a CP because I'm annoying. Nope, doesn't pay off. So that's the Death Guard down to 6. So 3 Marines. That leaves 1 Marine left. So now we'll do all the Sacrosancts into the remaining Marine. So there's 4. They get 2 attacks each. So they get 2 attacks each. I've spent a CP on exceptional proficiency, so they're hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. 6s explode. So re-rolling the 1s into a 1, but 6s explode, so we get 2 to put back in. So strength 6, so 3's to wound, rerolling the 1s, and only 6s do mortal wounds in addition. So that's 3 mortal wounds on the poor soul. That's the thing. And we'll use Argent Shroud reroll, can't use that yet. So that is 6. All 9 go through. So 9 5-up saves because it's -3, so it becomes -2. Let's see if we can do it. So 4, 7, 9. No, he's well dead. Plus he's well dead with mortal wounds. So the superior doesn't get to fight, but that has. Actually, thinking about that, there would have been strength 7, so it still would have been 3's to wound, but forgetting that with the tail of the warrior we get +1 strength to the sisters that are within 6 inches. So that's cleared that squad. We'll do a small bit of consolidation and then on to the penitent engine. So last bit of fighting is the penitent engine into the plague burst crawler. So it's a zealot, so it does re-roll all hits, so hitting on 4s. And isn't it a good job? Because that's what I got. So 1 explodes, so we drop 1. 4's to wound. And I use my Argent Shroud. So all 4 go through. So it's -4, becomes -3, but they've got a 5-up invuln. So let's see what we can do. Oops, didn't want that one anyway. 2 go through. Ooh. So 4 damage becomes 2 damage, so it has 3 wounds remaining. So the plague burst crawler fought back, but nothing doing. So that marks the end of the sisters' turn. And Captain Trips, he needs to fight as well, doesn't he? See if we can get rid of that Repenti Superior. So 5 attacks, hitting on 2s. Excellent. And wounding on 2s, rerolling the 1s. So all 5 go through. She's dead. Okay. So I'll remove her in a second. That marks the end of the sisters' turn, and what a turn. Managed to rack up 3 for grind them down, scored the objective for no prisoners, and scored the objective for secure no man's land. So we're back in control of this, all the mid-board objectives right now. So a very, very strong turn. It does net them a further 10 points. Takes them slightly into the lead, but however, this is what awaits the sisters at the other side of this wall. It's going to be one whole world of pain when they come through. So let's see how the Death Guard respond. And Death Guard turn 3. So at the start of the command phase for the Death Guard, we get to draw 3 new cards. So hold the line, raise a banner, and no prisoners. Okay, I think no prisoners is going to be, raise a banner is going to be relatively straightforward. Hold the line, again, I think would be achievable this turn. Or at the end of our opponent's next turn, which may prove difficult. So I think what I'm going to do is, and then no prisoners, although there's a lot of vehicles left on the table to go through, I'm now lacking the firepower to get through them. So I think I'm going to burn that, and capture enemy outpost. Okay, never mind. Okay, on to the rest of the command phase. So at the end of the movement phase, the most sensible thing to get net another 5 points is for the Poxwalkers to raise a banner, and the Plagueburst Crawler has fell out of combat but has got himself onto this objective here as well, so it's now contested for the start of the Sisters phase. Around here, again, we're relatively thin on the ground troops wise, but most of these troops are going to be hard to shift and they're now OBSEC. So the Terminators have started to creep through the building and make some small advances. The Death Shroud has shuffled around, and then Captain Trips has come out to play to get himself within a guaranteed charge range. So the only other thing is the Bloat Drone advanced round, and again in an effort to try and kill some of these Sisters and get to a point where we can start to contest the objective. So that's movement done. So on to Psychic. So move on to the Psychic phase, and basically just the two powers we're gonna cast Smite, which will go into the Smite will go. Actually, I am gonna cast. Yeah, I'm gonna cast Smite, which will go into the Canoness. It'll be a 7 because of the shadow in the warp. That's the Solexus, which doesn't go off. Not too bad. I don't mind that because I'm looking to charge her with the Death Shroud. I'm going to do Miasma of Pestilence onto the Blight Lords though, and that does go off, and he perils. I'll take that. I'll roll a d3 for 1. That's cool. So he's lost a wound. He's got the Putrid Parry up, so he can regain that should he need to once per battle. Regain d3 lost wounds. So all being done, on to the shooting phase. Okay, so on to the shooting phase. There's not too much to shoot because there's not masses left. So we're going to start off with Captain Trips. Now he has a once per battle grenade called the Orb of Desiccation. I never ever use it, so today I'm going to use it. And it's 3d3. In fact, it's 3d3. It's going to go into the Preacher, the bat equidistant, so you can go for him. So it's 3d3 shots for 3, 5, 6. Strength 4 against toughness 2 at this contagion range, so 2's to wound. So that is 5. I think it's plague weapon, so all 6 go through. Now they're -1, but the Preacher has basically a 6 up or a 4 up invuln, so they'll go on the 4 up invuln. So it's 3, 6, and he's very dead. Excellent. So now everything else, bolter wise, strong bolter wise, and heavy Reaper cannon will go into the Retributors. So we'll start with the bolters, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s because of the Lord of Contagion. So not bad. Wounding on 2s because of Contagion. Okay. No minus. And it kills 2 Retributors. So the heavy Reaper cannon. 2 hits. 2 wounds. 2 saves. Excellent. The last thing left to shoot will be the Bloat Drone into these Sisters for 9. 2's to wound, rerolling 1s. because of armour of contempt and cover, 2 up saves. And so we lose 1. See, that's how powerful that is. You'd have lost 1, 2, 3 out of that squad prior to armour of contempt, but just lose the 1. So on to the charge phase, and there's really 3 to declare. The Terminators are going to go into the Sacrosancts and try and break down this shield wall. Captain Trips is going to go into the Retributors and to the Immolator to try and shut the Immolator down from shooting, and the Death Shroud are going to go into the Canoness up here. So measuring up the Death Shroud, they're pretty guaranteed to get in. It's just a thing of distance. Captain Trips is the same, but the Blight Lords need a 5. So if we just start with Captain Trips, well, he's definitely in. Death Shroud, ooh, yes, should get in, I think. I'll measure that up and see. And then the Blight Lord Terminators, because I don't want this to fail, because I want to get across the board and take that objective back. That is exactly what they need. It won't leave them many because of how they're in the building, but let's see what we can do with piling and everything else like that. Okay, so we're going to split some attacks here because we've heroically intervened with the Canoness and the Palatine. So we're going to split it with the Flail going into the Canoness and everything else into the Sacrosancts. But the Sacrosancts have spent 2 CP, 1 for exceptional proficiency, have given them a +1 to their attack roll, and then Inviolate Shield Wall, which minuses 1 from the wound roll. So it may help, but we'll start off with the Flail. Because we've heroically intervened, we've become eligible as a target. So we'll start with everything into the Canoness. So we're within 6 as well for the Lord of Contagion, so hitting on the 3s, and we're rolling the 1s. There should be 1 more dice in there. Okay. 2s to wound, re-rolling 1s. So 3 wounds come through. The Flail is -1, sorry, -2, but becomes -1. So let's see how she gets on. So it's either which way, it's a needing more than that. Okay. So she's just taken 4 wounds and she's got 1 left. Not bad. Right, okay. All of the swords into the Sacrosancts. So again, 3s, rerolling 1s. Okay. Would be 2s, but now it's 3s because of the -1 to the wound roll. And reroll those 1s. It made 1 difference. So 5 4 pin buns. I'm going to spend CP to go down to 1 CP. Okay, so I've just lost 1. And now the champion with his axe. 3 hits. 2 wounds. Another 1. So it's here where we intervene because the Canoness has always fight first. So we'd intervene here before we move on to Captain Trips and the Death Shroud. So she gets 4 attacks, hitting on 2s. And 2 6s, so we get 2 exploding, which is good. So winning on 3s. getting to reroll all wounds because of her relic. And there's one more, no she doesn't, because that's for people around her. Okay, so all 6 go through. So 6 4-up invulns. Okay, so we kill one because it is damage 3, but it's reduced down to damage 2. So we kill a Blight Lord. Okay. Okay, so Captain Trips gets 5 attacks, hidden on 2s. All hit. Wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s. It's a plague weapon. So all 5 go through, so 5 ups. It should be -3, but it's -2 because of Armour of Contempt. And the 2 managed to save themselves, but that still only leaves 1 alive. Okay. So we move on to the Death Shroud into the Canoness. We'll start with the champion with his Reaper of Glorious Entropy. So hitting on 2s. Wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s. Okay, and that's 4 on the 4-up invuln. She is deader than dead of a dead thing. So now we fight back with the Sacrosancts. So there's 3 left, one of which being the Superior. So we've got to fight back with this squad, the Palatine, and then that lowly Retributor Superior. I'm the Immolator, but I don't hold that much hope. So we're adding 1 to the attack roll because of exceptional proficiency. So hitting on 2s and rerolling 1s. That's a good job. Okay, so no 6s to explode. So we are wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s for the Palatine, and any 6s do mortal wounds in addition. Rerolling 1 for the Palatine. Oh, okay, so 3 go through. So 3 4-up invulns, of which 1 is made, plus the mortal wound. So 1 terminates down to 1 wound remaining. 3 attacks with the Palatine, hitting on 2s, and an exploding 1. Very good. Winning on 5s, and only 1 goes through. She's not caught, so doesn't get the benefit of the miracle. And fails. Okay, so that kills another Blight Lord. So we did the fight back with the Retributor Superior and the Immolator, and surprise, surprise, nothing doing. So not a bad turn for the Death Guard. We've managed to take over this objective because they are OBSEC. We're contesting this object, although I'd say actually once the Death Shroud actually do consolidate forward that way, then we'll have more in range. So we'll take this objective too, and they're OBSEC anyway, so that's what I'm talking about. So we've taken back the mid-board, and we've taken back part of No Man's Land. So not a bad turn for the Death Guard. In terms of points, we'll get Raise the Banners high, but we'll ditch both Hold the Line and Capture Enemy Outpost, because that's not going to be a thing, even with turn 4 coming up. It's going to be a hard push, I think. So on to Sisters, turn 3. So start of the Sisters turn, we had Grind Them Down in action, in play. So we lost the Preacher, we lost the Canoness, but we didn't lose any more full units. So I think that one is scored as well now. So as we go into turn 5, it is really even, which is 30 points to 35 to the Death Guard. So as we go into turn 5, I need to look at the primaries and what we've got for primaries, and burn that. But we'll draw the cards. Storm hostile objective. Hold the line. It's going to be very difficult. Blood and guts. Blood and guts. Again, that's going to be super difficult with what I've got left. So I am going to burn blood and guts, taking me back down to 2 CP, and investigate site. Oh, okay. Not going to happen. Okay, cool. Fair enough. So, a couple of miracle dice being spent on the Palatine, so she turns off all rerolls against core units within 6 inches now, because the miracle dice being spent. And then spent miracle dice for the advanced move for this immolator to bring her round to line of sight and within 12 of this bloat drone. Shuffled the sisters and spent 2 CP on Defenders of the Faith for this unit, mainly to give them transhuman, but also to double the number of shots and try and whittle this down. Because if I want to hold the line, I've got to get rid of the bloat drone and I've got to get rid of Captain Trips. That will give me hold the line. Storming hostile objectives. I could, if I can get rid of the Terminators there, that's an option. This one was contested, but now I've got that, so I'll have to think whether that actually counts, because it wasn't being held by the crawler, it was being contested by. So I think if I'm going for the wording, I'd say no. But I've brought the Penitent Engine round to leave my options open as to whether, depending on how things go, whether I can actually take care of this lot here to the point where I can storm the home objective. So there's a lot of things got to go right this turn. I've also moved the assassin a bit closer to Captain Trips. I'm going to try and throw everything into him as I need to get rid of him. Left everything else in combat, fell back with this immolator and fell back with the sister. Actually, to be fair, she needs to pass morale, which 4, she lost 3 that turn, she's fine. Okay. So, on to shooting. So, we've positioned the Retributors, it's the closest eligible target, and they're not eligible because they're in combat, so I'm reading it as they're eligible to fire at Captain Trips, because he is then the closest enemy unit. So we're going to chuck everything we can. So we're going to go with 2 multi-melters first. All hit. 3s to wound. Rerolling 1s for the Palatine. Okay, so 3, 4 up inbuns. Oh, he bosses it. Okay. Heavy bolter. All hit. We're only 1 for the Palatine. No wounds. And 2 heavy flamers for 7. Force to wound. Okay. Nope, he's absolutely fine. Bossed the whole lot. So I'm going to have to spend a cherub and see if I can get him this way. Rerolling 1s for the Canoness to 2 hits. not sure I've spent an Argent Shroud yet. So 2 wounds. Absolutely fine. Okay. So we're going to have to forsake hold the line, definitely, and see if we can storm our objective instead. So let's see if we can. Well, we're going to start off by putting this Exorcist, all its shots into the Poxwalkers. So 3d3, and it's going to put its heavy bolters into the Lord of Contagion. So not very good for 3 shots. This is going to go well, I think. Hitting on 3s. I'm going to use my Argent Shroud. Great. Wounding on 2s. So 2 wounds. They actually are in cover, but they don't, so it'd be just need to roll the damage first, because they don't get a save, because even with the cover that would be right at the minus. So 2d6, the first one for 5, the second one for 2. So let's do the one with 2. He's definitely dead. And he's definitely dead. So that takes 2. That leaves quite a lot. The heavy bolter shots into the Lord. All 3 hit. Where was that for the blooming missiles? 2 wounds. Guess what? He's fine. So on to the second Exorcist, going to do the same thing. That's better. So 3, 6, 8. Hitting on 3s. Killing on 2s. Okay. So 6 go through. So we'll roll them. 3, 2. So yep, no, he's dead. Oh, just dead. 1. He's alive. Very dead. Okay. Yeah, dead. Okay, we'll just say he's dead. Very dead. Right, okay. So, managed to save 1. So the last thing to shoot will be the assassin, who gets assault d3. So let's see what he gets. Of course he does. Actually, I will spend. No, I can't. I don't have any CP left. Excellent. Hits. Strength 5. Excellent. So, no. Okay. So all that being said, pretty much everything thrown at these 2 units in my lines here, to no avail, really. Need to fire the last couple of units, which are the Sisters and the Penitent Engine, which are on the far objective next to the Plagueburst Crawler. The Sisters have just done their shooting phase and managed to plink a couple of wounds off, so it's just down to the Penitent Engine to do its flamers. So it's got 4 heavy flamers. 4 heavy flamers. So that's a lot of shots. It's 10, 16, 20. I'll come back. So strength 6, toughness 8, so 5 to wound. Not many, in fact, that was appalling. Okay, here we go. To save the PBC. Yes, it's fine. There's only a couple of charges going off this turn. I spent the miracle dice to ensure that the Penitent Engine made his way around. Actually, So during the charge phase, there wasn't much to charge. Well, there was 3 units, but there was, it weren't. For 2 of them weren't massive distances. So we charged the assassin into the Lord of Contagion to try and tie him up, maybe. We charged this squad of Battle Sisters into the Plague Bear Squad because with 1 wound left, you never know. But we did use 2 miracle dice to ensure the charge from the Penitent Engine did come off. Now, it's a stretch. There are 7 left, so it's going to have to really work hard. But you never know. Again, it could be the little engine that could. So, hitting on 3s, 6 is exploding. Ooh. 5s to wound, come on. I'll get 1 reroll for Argent Shroud. Oh. So 6 attacks from the flail. I'm out of range now, I think. Reroll the 1s. Into a 1. Yeah, that's fine because it's against character. So 3 on her, 4 up in any of these, and she's dead. She's dead, and I don't have any CP reroll. So the Sacrosancts will go into the Blight Lords. All hit, 1 explodes. Uh, 3 wounds on the 4 up in and it kills that 1 Terminator with 1 wound. Or the Sacrosanct Superior. Exploding 6. All 4 wounds. Oh, okay. So 2 go through. That kills another Terminator. And then the Palatine. Ooh. 3's to wound. No. Yeah, 3's to wound. 5's to wound, sorry. No wounds. Okay, so at the end of that turn, it was a bit of a stretch for the sisters. It was a bit meh in terms of their overall ability to remove units, but the units they're going up against now are hard to remove. They've done well to remove those Black Lord Terminators, but this is where they are going to look like a wrecking ball when the Death Shroud come coming through as well. So it's going to be a hard slog, I think, for the sisters in this next turn. In terms of points, we have not got that. We've not got that, and we haven't got that. Okay, so a real whiffer of a turn, and they can all go and be burnt. And so we move on to the next battle round. So at the start of turn 4 for the Death Guard, they've netted some decent points in the primary because they do control more. So let's see what their orders are. Secure no man's land, investigate site, and grind them down. Okay, yeah, pretty solid. So after the movement phase, we've brought Captain Trips round, looking to charge either the Sacrosancts or the Retributor squad. Haven't decided yet. We've brought the Death Shroud round 2, and the Plague Surgeons also come out of cover to give that 3-inch bubble for 6-up shrugs. Apart from that, nothing else has moved, so really short movement phase because we're in the twilight hours of the game now. So that being said, onto the shooting phase. There won't be much, just a couple of units, and yeah, so onto the shooting phase. So we're going to do a psychic phase now, smiting, which will be into the battle sister, the Repentia Superior, which is the closest model to the Psyker, which goes off. So for D3, she's gone. So the other power we'll do is we will do Miasma of Pestilence onto the Blight Lord Terminators in combat, which also goes off. So they're now -1 to hit. So pretty successful round of Psychic. The other bit of shooting is the bloat drone into this squad of Battle Sisters. So again for 2d6 for 6. So wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s. All go through. Then Armour of Contempt and Cover, 2-up saves. So they're all good. So there's only a couple of... So now shooting's done. We're on to the charge phase. So we'll be charging Captain Trips into this Retributor squad, and the Image of Fire. And then we'll be charging the Death Shroud into the Immolator just to finish that off. Sisters players got no CP to interrupt. So we'll start with the Death Shroud. I'll start with the champion. 5 attacks, hitting on 2s. All hit. So strength 8, toughness 7. So wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s. Reroll that 1. Okay, so 4 go through. So 5 ups. Okay, does it blow up? No. So Captain Trips now into the Retributor squad. I'm going to leave the Image of Fire because the Retributor squad are the ones that would be ordinarily the biggest threat, but obviously now they're shut down from shooting. So 2s to hit, 2s rerolling 1s, all 4 go through. So Armour of Contempt, I'm not classing this squad as in cover. They're sat in between the two ruin sections. So again, my bad placement really on that one. You know, they're not touching either this cover or this cover. So I'd argue that they're not. So I do reduce the Armour of Contempt down to 5-ups. But I certainly don't think, and I'm not classing them as getting down to 4-ups. Oh wow. Okay. So after we pile in, it's the sisters' turn to fight back. So we'll start with the sisters themselves. The Retributor squad, they'll have 5 attacks, hitting on 3s. And 6s explode still, so not bad. We get +1 to our strength because the Imagifier is there. So it'll be strength 4 versus toughness 5. It is still 5-star wound, but a nice little bonus on the strength still. 1 wound. Rerolling the ones because of the Palatine, and I get to reroll 1 anyway. So that made a massive difference. Wishy saves. Okay. The Imagifier's attacks came in and, as predicted, did nothing. So now we'll move on to this existing combat with, and I'll elect the Sacrosancts to fight first, I think. So hitting on, I've got no CP to spend, so it's hitting on 3s. Okay, no 6s this time. Wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s. Okay. So 2 wounds, and both saved. And then the superior, I'll elect to reroll that one. Excellent. 2 wounds and 1 fails. I do have a CP. I've got loads to spare. It doesn't fail. Okay. So we're going to split the attacks back. We're going to put the flail into the Sacrosanct, and we're going to put the champion into the Palatine. So 6 attacks from the flail. Rerolling 1s. Okay. 2s to wound, rerolling 1s. Okay. So 4 on the 4-up invan. So no, sorry, flail is -2, not -3, sorry. So it'll be taking them to 4s back down to 3s because of the shields. Ooh, okay. Okay, so 4 attacks into the Palatine. One of those 2 1s will go through. 2s to wound. Okay. So the Palatine with 1 wound remaining strikes back. All 3 hit. And that is, so 1 wound, which fails. Okay, excellent. I will use the CP, and so having used my CP reroll, it does kill that Terminator, had the 1 wound remaining. So we're left with just the champion and the Palatine with 1 wound remaining. So ongoing combat there. So that brings us to the end of the death. Oh no, we've got ongoing combat over with the Penitent Engine. So, and Playdress Caller, and these guys. I'll resolve this off camera and come back and do a summary. So mixed bit of combat there. The sisters did manage to get that last wound off of the Plague Burst Crawler, but around here the Penitent Engine managed to get a couple of wounds, but the first Poxwalker 2 6s to survive. The second one unfortunately didn't. So we'll just do the fight back. See if we can kill off this Penitent Engine. Force to hit. Not bad. So strength 3, toughness 5, so 5's to wound. 2 wounds. Five but feel no pain. It's fine. Excellent. So that marks the end of the Death Guard turn. And so points wise, we have secured no man's land, but we haven't managed to kill off the entire unit for grind them down, and we didn't investigate sites, so we will burn those. Okay, but that nets some 5 points for secure no man's land. So the sisters have got a lot of work to do now. So let's see how they retaliate. So it's currently 10 points in it, so we could do with something on the sisters' behalf to see what we can do on these secondaries. So battlefield supremacy. Okay. Defend stronghold. Raise a banner. Okay. Yeah, I think we can do something with these. So after the movement phase, there's a few things that we did. So first of all, we spent the CP that we gained this turn on a strat that allows the sisters to fall back and then be eligible to shoot, because we really want to try and get rid of this lord, because I've got nothing to deal with it just yet. And then we brought this immolate around to give it options either on the Death Shroud or on the bloat drone. We advanced this exorcist up to get it closer to this malignant plaguecaster, because we want to get rid of it off of that objective if we possibly can. Then everything else really stayed still. So that being the case, also to satisfy the secondaries, this squad here are raising the banners, and hopefully fingers crossed, are able to defend the stronghold. So all that being said, we'll move on to the shooting phase. So it's taken till turn 4 for me to realise that I'm an idiot, and the Penitent Engine is a vehicle and has heavy flamers and can fire into combat. So that's what he's going to do. It's just taken a while for it to sink in, playing 2 or 3 armies and whatever. So anyway, so here we go. Let's pray for some good dice rolls. Well, that'll do. Okay, so strength 6, toughness 4, so 3's to wound. It's not bad. 1 wound each, so 6, and that gets them. Okay, that's good. That's very good. So we'll start with this exorcist, and everything will go into the psyker. So we'll start with a heavy bolter. Hit on 3s. Or hit. Strength 5, toughness 5, so wounding on 4s. And and I'm saving it. He's fine. So 3d3 for the missile launcher. 4, 3, 5, 7. Hitting on 3s. Wow. Okay. Wounding on 3s. Toughness, strength 8, toughness 5. And I'll use my Argent Shroud reroll. Okay. So -2 becomes -1. And near a Monitorium container, they do also give light cover. So fails 1. I've got 3 CP left, but I've also not got the ability to regenerate now. We'll go for it. Oh, took too long. Okay, so D6 damage. I'm not going to use a miracle dice. I've got a nice pool down here, but I think I need to save in case I get anything through on the Lords or the Death Shroud. So I will roll for it, risky as it is. Okay, 5 reduced to 4. I'm pretty certain that pops him. So the dream is alive so far. So we'll then do this exorcist will go into the Death Shroud. So heavy bolters first. Amazing. And now the missile launcher. Same again, 7. Hitting on 3s. Oh, that's not bad. Wounding on 3s. And 1 Argent Shroud reroll. Okay, so 4 come through. So -2 becomes -1. So -2 becomes -1. So 3 ups. Okay. Kills the 1 remaining because it's D6 damage, so it kills the one wound left. So now the flamers are going to go into the Death Shroud. Gone for it. And the heavy bolters as well. So I'll start with the heavy bolters. This is from this simulator here. Oh, jeez. Okay. No wounds. Okay, so 2 heavy flamers. So that'll be 4d6 shots. Wow, okay, so 12, 17, 18. So strength 6, toughness 5, so 3's to wound. Oh dear. It's 4, 5. Some wound, better than I thought. And then 1 Argent Shroud reroll. Okay, nothing doing. So 11 wounds came through. They are -1, but Armour of Contempt back again. So 11 2-up saves. Easy peasy. Yeah, easy peasy. Takes a wound. I think desperate times now. Pistols into combat. Of course. Well, of course. So, last thing to shoot will be the Retributor Squad, and everything is going to go into the Lord of Contagion. we'll start with the heavy flamers for 3 shots, of course. One wound, which takes 1. So he has 3 remain. Let me just check, is he 6 or 5? 6, so 4 remaining. Okay, so we'll go for the multi-melters. Three hits. Wow. Okay. Argent Shroud. May as well use it now. Yep. Okay. And it fails. Fails. I've already used my CP. Reroll. So at this point, I will use a miracle dice. Plonk it down. Reduced by 1. And that's the Lord of Contagion gone. Excellent. So now, nothing else to really do. I mean, there's very little left on the table, but we'll have to go on to resolving the fight. So what we're going to do is we're going to put everything from the champion into the sacrosancts, because at the moment they are the ones with the more actually she's down to 1 wound. She gets at the start of the command phase, forgive me, I'll do it out of turn, I know, but she gets to re-roll up to D3 regained wounds for 2, so she's actually got she's now taken 1 wound. Okay. I know that's out of sequence, and I know if I was somewhere like a tournament or whatever, I'd have to sort of live with it, but I'm not. I'm in my garage, and it's a friendly kind of garage kind of play. So there you go. But he will put all of his attacks into the sacrosancts, because they are the most threat, really, because of the she's got a power sword, 1 damage, but there's more of them hitting as a unit. So okay, 2 wounds. On the 4 pin button. Both fine. Excellent. Okay. So now the sacrosancts will fight back. So the sacrosancts first. And the exploding 6s gets me that 1 back. 3s to wound. Rerolling the 1. Okay. So 3 on the 4 pin button. Okay, takes 2 wounds. Damage 1 each, so takes 2 wounds. So 1 wound is remaining. Okay, so now it's the Sacrosanct Superior. All 3 hit. I use Argent Shroud reroll. All 3 wound. 4 ups or death. Oh, tanks it like a boss. Okay, on to the Palatine. So because we're exploding 6s, all 3 hit. 5s to wound. Argent Shroud reroll. Nothing. Okay. So, at the end of the sister's turn, that was a pretty clutch turn there. We managed to get rid of the Lord of Contagion, who was bearing down on those lines. But this objective is still contested, still in control by the Death Guard because of OBSEC, but we do hold this one. We do hold this one, and we do hold this one. So we are holding 3 objectives. So at the moment, we're in battlefield supremacy, and we have raised a banner, but we just need to see if we can defend the stronghold. Okay, so it's 10 points. We go into turn 5 completely even. So as we go into turn 5 for the Death Guard, they net 5 points for the objective that they hold. So let's see what secondaries they come up with. Blood and Guts. Okay. Battlefield Supremacy is going to be difficult. And Assassination. Get rid of a character. Okay. Again, may be difficult. So looking at it, I think I'm going to burn Battlefield Supremacy. No retreat, no surrender. Okay. I think that's going to be doable. Okay, movement phase was actually expect short but sweet. So brought the Death Shroud up, moved the medic. That's pretty much it. So shooting phase wise, there's really not a lot, next to nothing. So we will do this drone into the Sisters just to see if we can deny defend stronghold. With 6, it's going to be difficult. 2 to wound, rerolling 1s. Okay, so that's all 6 go through, but armour of contempt and cover 6 2-ups. Oh wow. Okay. They lose 2. So now on to charges. There's do the Death Shroud into the Palatine. We know we've got to come all the way around, and we'll do the Bloat Drone into the Sisters again, see if we can whittle those last 2, you never know, and deny that defend stronghold. So working it out, I think it's a 6-inch charge. So okay, let's go for it. Oh, he's in. He's really in. So that's where we'll start. So 5 attacks, hitting on 2s, and wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s. No need to reroll anything there. So 4 up invulnerables. Wow, he gets her. It's a 3 damage weapon, so that's assassination. Okay, so let's see if we can deny the Sisters defend stronghold. So he gets 4 attacks, Bloat Drone, hitting on 3s. Okay, they've both got a count. Strength 6 versus, well, toughness 2 now, so 2s rerolling 1s. Okay, both go through. Now they're -2, so that'd be a 5 up. Reduced down to -1 because of armor contempt, and they're in cover. So 2 3-up saves. So let's see. Absolutely just bossed it. Excellent. So defenders fight first again over here. I've rolled for the Battle Sisters off camera against the Bloat Drone, and as predicted, or as thought, no wounds. So the Sacrosancts will go into the champion. But regardless, really here, even if they get the champion, then you've still got OBSEC with the Death Shroud. So So 4 attacks with the Sacrosancts, and 3 to wound. We're rolling 1 Private Shroud, may as well do it now. Yep. Okay, fails both. So it's down to the Sacrosanct Superior. Gets an additional hit. I've already done the re-roll. So 3 more, any one of these fail, and it's a dead Blight Lord. And 2 fail. So that kills the Blight Lord, the last champion, but it still leaves Death Shroud OBSEC on that objective. And that is the end of the Death Guard turn. So the sisters, we'll do a morale for the sisters. They've still got the sergeant there. They've lost 2, no, they're fine. So they do get Defend Stronghold, so that's netting them 5 points. But the Death Guard do get Assassination, they do get No Retreat, No Surrender. Now then 1, that will be that because they can't get that anymore. So at the end of the Death Guard's turn and the Death Guard's battle, we'll just do a quick count. So we're up to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 points. So let's see what the sisters can do. So the sisters are holding more anyway. They do get an additional 15 points. So we have Bring It Down, Capture Enemy Outpost, and No Retreat, No Surrender. So that one I'm going to be pretty much guaranteed. Bring It Down, I think I'm going to burn with the 1 CP I've got. Deploy Teleport Homers. Okay, and No Retreat, No Surrender. Let's see what the sisters can do. So there's very little assets left for the Death Guard now, but we have racked up 70 points, so let's see what we can do to surpass that now. It was very, very close, very close. So we'll leave this. We'll leave these sisters in combat. They're still OBSEC. They're still controlling that objective. And we've left that squad of battle sisters on that objective too. So into the shooting phase. So everything is going to go into these here. So we'll start off with the Retributors going into the Death Shroud. So the 2 multi-melters will hit. I'll use the Argent Shroud roll now. So 3 go through. So 3 on the 4 up in bun. And I will use my CP now. So absolutely fine. And a Heavy Flamer for 7 shots. All go through by 1. So 2 up saves. He fails 1, and that's the Death Shroud Terminator gone. So now everything will go into the medic. So we've got the Exorcist and this Exorcist left. So we'll fire this Exorcist first and see what we get. So we'll start off with the Heavy Bolters. 3 hits, 4 to wound, 3 wounds, 3 up saves. He takes a wound. and then the missile launchers for 7. So 5 hits, 3s to wound. I use an Argent Shroud reroll, so 3 wounds at 4s. And he takes a wound, and so I will use a miracle dice again. I'll use the 5 again, and that concludes that. So now, with only the bloat drone left for the Death Guard, I think it's at that point we call it a day. So with the penitent engine on the objective in the opponent's deployment zone, that's netted 5, and nothing's retreated or surrendered, so it's another 10 points. I can't do actions with the penitent engine, so it wouldn't have mattered. I could never have got that. Well, I could have advanced the sisters off of there, so yeah, I could have potentially, but by advancing them I would never have got it because I can't do actions. So another 10 points netted, so I'll just do some calculations. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 85, so 15 points in it. So that last battle round where we netted the hold more was the crucial round, really, getting rid of some of those assets. But the Death Guard, they took a lot of shifting. Having those Terminator units left, the Death Shroud, the Lord of Contagion, the Blight Lords, they really took some shifting. So that was the Battle of St. Orpheus. In this battle grid, the sisters were victorious. They held off the Death Guard. They protected the city. Where elsewhere on St. Orpheus, demons are rising from the ground, erupting from rifts into the materium. So let's see what fate holds for St. Orpheus. See you guys soon.